a year from now, I want you to look back on this time because I'm going to do it. I'm going to look back at this moment and think about, wow, we're still here. We made it through this. We are still standing. And the character and maybe some deterioration that got us to that point, it'll all be worth it because we're creating this new part of our journey. We are all on our paint journey, but where are we now? And where do we go next? This is how. Passion, action, intent, new, teach. This is the Paint Method. Welcome to the Paint Method podcast. My name is David Garibaldi. Welcome back to those of you who have been following this journey of the Paint Method. And thank you to those of you who are listening on an audio platform. And I appreciate those who are hitting the follow button on those platforms. And also those of you who are watching this on YouTube. Matter of fact, if you're watching this on YouTube today, you can tell my wardrobe is a little different. And you'll have to go to YouTube to find out what it actually looks like. But I'm here in the studio today. I've got to get to work. We had a great weekend, which I'm going to recap in a little bit. But just one quick reminder, if you didn't know, you can follow at the Paint Method on Instagram. And I post a lot of exclusive content on there, stuff that I don't post on any other channel. And so if you can, do me a huge favor if you're listening to this to follow the Paint Method on Instagram, just at the Paint Method. It'll pop up, or you can find it on my bio on my page. So let's get into today's episode. Now, this past weekend, I had a very unique show. And if you follow me on Instagram, I was sharing a lot of this on my story, this absolutely unique venue that I got to perform at. Now, I was telling someone at the event, this is probably my top 3 venue to perform at in the world. In the world. Now, this venue is in American Canyon, California, which is really part of the Napa Valley region. I'm in Sacramento, so it's not too far from us. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. And the event I was performing at is called Evening at the Ruins. So the ruins, let me just describe walking up to this place. When you're driving up, it's, you kind of come off a main highway, you go up to the end of a road, and then you're sort of going through like this, which seems like you're breaking into someone's farm property. But you keep driving, and then in the distance, you can see these sort of cement silos. You see some other really like odd shaped buildings. And then you kind of pull around the corner around that. And then there's these propped up cement walls covered. I mean, absolutely like top to bottom covered in graffiti. It's very striking. Like there's so much graffiti. It's something that literally took decades to cover that place. And I'm sure people go back and fill it up. But yeah, and obviously the name The Ruins is because it looks run down, and I'll share a little backstory on this place in a little bit, but it's just such a striking location, and especially the fact that they turned it into like this really cool event venue. Now, I've done this event. It's called Evening at the Ruins. I've done it, I think it was 2018 or 2019. It's been a while. And I was invited back to perform for this. Now, the Evening at the Ruins benefits this organization that is actually preserving the wetlands in this area. So surrounding the ruins, which I'll share more about, are these incredible wetlands. Now, the reason why they're trying to conserve it is because it's a huge growing area, this area of Napa Valley. A lot of people moving from the Bay Area are moving to a more affordable place and frankly, more beautiful place to live. I mean, Napa Valley is one of the most sought after pieces of land to live and to play. And it's just a great place that we love here in Northern California. And so this event, is raising money to not only preserve those wetlands, but they're also creating sort of like an eco center, people that can come and get educated, but a place that becomes the center point of this area. And that night I did it was a beautiful event. So like during the day, the sun's out, can't really it looks like some ruins. You don't really have the vision until the evening comes, and then everything is uplit by beautiful LED lights, and there's stage and lighting and all these string lights around. I mean, it really transforms into the night. And if you ever get a chance or invited to an event at the ruins in Napa Valley, I highly recommend it. So that night, did two paintings, one of Steph Curry and another one. This was a unique one. It was of a blue heron, which is a bird native to that area. Now, I mostly do portraits, and I shared a story on the last podcast about painting on the hood of a car. And I've always got these challenges every show. Like, I feel like God will give me all these shows that I feel, they're within my wheelhouse. They're fun. They're not easy, but I know how to do them. And then he throws me these challenges like the blue heron bird. And so I ended up doing that painting upside down, flipped it over. And then those paintings ended up raising, from what I recall, a little over $20,000 for both of them combined. Definitely over that. But it was one of my favorite events. We got some incredible video, which I'll be sharing later this week of me recording this. But I was just really taken back by where we were and why. And I could not help but think about getting in front of this microphone and sharing this experience with you with some purpose and intent. Because, the paint method is about identifying where we are so that we can create what goes next. Because we're not going to leave this journey up to anyone else to decide for us when we have the ability and the time to create it. So I was thinking about where we were. Now, this location, what we now know as the ruins in Napa Valley, was the location. It was called the Standard Portland Cement Plant, and it was founded in the early 1900s. So there was a major earthquake in San Francisco in the early 1900s, and they had to rebuild this city with a lot of cement. And so this was one of the plants in the Northern California region that was developing the cement needed, that was nearby to San Francisco, to provide that so that they could rebuild the city. So the plant is huge. I mean, if you could imagine something big enough to help rebuild a city, it's got quite the footprint. Now, it opened in the early 1900s, and then it closed in 1978. So it was open for 70 plus years. It's with intended purpose. It was there to create cement and concrete. So, and by the way, those of you who are in this field of cement and concrete, I'm sure I may not be using the right terminology, but feel free to leave a comment and let me know. But I love that this location had an original purpose and intent on the original journey. It was made to help rebuild a city that was broken, and it served its purpose, and for whatever reason, shut down in 1978. Now, from 1978 to present time, it just deteriorated. I mean, what we see today, there's no roof on most of the buildings that we were performing in that area. Some other, like the silos, are still kind of put together, but I mean, it's literally fallen apart. And then on top of that, because it was abandoned, that usually these areas attract a lot of graffiti artists. Graffiti artists are always looking for a place that they can create and not get caught easily or at all from the police. And so this place has kind of become a graffiti haven. There's a place in London called the Leek Street Tunnel, which I highly recommend if you ever get to go to London. I've been there several times, and I love to walk through this tunnel because it's sort of like a free graffiti zone. And because of that, it's taken on character of its own more than it just being a completely clean, frankly boring tunnel. The ruins have become that in this Napa Valley area. And I love that, I don't love that it deteriorated, but it did deteriorate over 40 years and it served an original purpose. But the deterioration and the graffiti over time helped repurpose it to how we appreciate today. Now, I'll explain a little bit of that, why we look at, I think, ruins in this way or old buildings that have been run down and we're just like in awe of that. I'll share that. But I was thinking about my journey. And as I share mine, I want you to think about yours, about what the original plan was, what worked out, what didn't, and then how we use those to benefit and create our journey going forward. Now, originally in my journey, my original purpose was I wanted to be an artist, an animator, but I was pursuing music very early on as well. I started playing the trumpet in 3rd grade and I played it to high school, and they made me decide between music and animation in high school because I couldn't do both because of the time and electives that I had to do them. So I loved the trumpet, but if you heard me play, you would understand why I decided to go after art. But I did. But that was, I had the passion to create. I was doing music. This other passion that I developed in high school, which I didn't discover until I tried it. So I always recommend try things that just at least for a season. And this thing that I tried was dance. I joined this hip hop dance group, and we practiced in my friend's garage, and we would perform at cotillions and quinceañeras and bar mitzvahs, local high schools. I mean, we were just having fun with it. And I realized that I had this passion to dance. And even after high school, I danced in a group called Boogie Monstars, which was founded by the founders of Jabberwockies. And they went off and became that, obviously. So that was a style of dance, if you can imagine Jabberwockies. And, each of those alone, I had a dream to pursue those. So with music, I could have went to school for music and joined an orchestra, or maybe later a band and followed that route. With dance, my dream was actually to be a backup dancer for Justin Timberlake. I'm still holding out hope. Maybe one day, JT, I'm ready to train. And then even wanting to be an animator in high school, that was still part of the dream as well. But even that, I didn't graduate high school, so I couldn't go to college for that. And my plans completely changed. So think about this. My original purpose, or each of these journeys could have went somewhere, but they didn't. And between 18 and 20, I realized that I could bring these passions together, which started this new journey of performance painting. Performance painting is a collision of passions. It's art, it's music, it's dance. These things that alone I wanted to pursue, but they didn't work out. But because they didn't work out, it set me up for this new purposeful journey. It's pretty crazy. So I'm telling you this story. I want you to think about these moments in life that may have felt insignificant, but still played a role in the purpose you're serving now. Now, I started this collision of passions performance painting, and I grew it from 2003. Let's just go to 2020, because that was a huge change in my journey, for better or for worse. And in that time, it was natural progression. Now, think about the ruins that we're talking about here. The Portland cement plant. It started off with a purpose in the journey. It went from early 1900s to 1978. For whatever reason, it shut down. I went from 2003 to 2020 performing at live events, and then the world shuts down. There's no live events. And so now I'm left with, well, what is the purpose that I serve now? Because the thing that I loved has now been taken away. But I was about to learn a new lesson in when I look at these ruins, I think about this moment of transformation that I had to start going through in 2020. And let me just be very clear. It was not pretty. Now, on the outside, I was able to grow my social media to over 2 million followers. But on the inside, I was stressing and struggling. the guaranteed income from shows went completely away, and now I was just hustling to sell prints, products, and do these live streams and create content. I mean, it was a new way of thinking for me. I had to start developing a new purpose, but this time I had a little bit of a head start. And so now I want you to think about, as you've gone through your journey, you've maybe come across a moment in your life, or you had a moment in your life where you were struggling. What I want to share with you right now are these top 3 things that helped me get through it. And if you're going through it now, I want you to really take these down and take this in, that these 3 pillars are what will help transform your original journey and your purpose into a completely new direction. So number 1 is think about, what is your unfair advantage that puts you ahead? So in 2020, as the world shut down and I had to start creating content, my one unfair advantage that put me ahead fast was my experience with video and audio and making videos and being familiar with live streaming, even going back to my animation days in high school. And so I was tapping into that. Now, for you, if it's not as obvious as that, I want you to also think in terms of not just talents, but also skills, in the sense of, do you have a skill set in leadership? Do you have a skill set in planning? Do you have a skill set in organizing? These are all things that you can tap into that are your unfair advantage that can put you ahead when it comes to a time of struggle. The other is, what are the stories that become your greatest lessons? So as we started developing this content in 2020 and 21 and 22 and so on, is I started developing these courses to help artists that wanted to really turn up their brand and their business. And it was really the lessons that I had learned and what to do right, what not to do right in my artistic journey that helped me develop these courses quicker than normal, get them out to market, which we're still doing and developing, but it helped me get ahead of, again, creating a new purpose and direction. And so with you and your stories, think about not only what are the disadvantages that you went through and how you overcame them, but also what are the experiences that you can use to help teach others. I think teaching is so underrated as a tool to, one, monetize on your story and your struggles and your lessons, but also for the greater good of helping people. Now, we always think about teachers as sitting in a class, the front of a class in a room full of 30 students. Teaching is also partly leading as well and imparting lessons to just help people. So I want you to think about, what are the stories that created your greatest lessons and how can you share that with others? Now, the last one I want to share with you are, what were the moments that built character? The past 4 years, I have had to build more character in the past 4 years than I have in the past 20 before that. Because before that, it was a natural progression to just grow, right? As you're growing, opportunities come, there's a momentum that can't be stopped. When momentum stops, you have to rebuild all over again. You have to create that momentum, which in all transparency, you're listening to this podcast, I'm sharing this with you, I am rebuilding momentum. It's work, but this is what builds character. And if I go through this with that in mind, when I come out on the other side of this, I'm going to love and appreciate everything and every struggle that I went through this moment. You will appreciate every moment, every struggle that you went through on the other side. As I start to see the light a little bit, I'm so glad that I went through what I did and what still I go through personally and as I go through my own personal growth. None of us can escape these moments and struggles that will build character. Now, one caveat is it's only going to build character is if you have that purpose and intent in that moment of struggle. So these three things: use your unfair advantage that puts you ahead. These are skill sets and talents. What stories are your greatest lessons that you can help teach others to get through their hardest moments? And the last one is embrace the struggles that build character. Now, I just want to wrap this message up, and I'm thinking about the Napa Valley ruins. And I'm thinking about, why are we looking at these ruins with awe? We do this all over the world. There's these ruins that have been constructed through history, and then they're abandoned for centuries or thousands of years, whatever it is. But we look at them in awe. And I was thinking about, well, we do that because they're still standing. That's why we look at these ruins in awe. I mean, when I think about what I get through and getting on through the other side, I'm in awe of the journey because I'm still standing. I want you to be in awe of what you're going through now. If you are still standing, you are serving a new purpose. You're on the way to serving that new purpose. You know, the journey that I'm on right now, it is a rediscovery, it's a repurpose, it is whatever it is. I am in awe, and I'm grateful for the struggles that God put in front of me, because I think he knew too that I needed some character building. I was very blessed before that, extremely. I mean, without a doubt. And I still feel like I am, but I feel like I am now because of those struggles. And, you know, I'll share, I'll be very transparent. I'll share with you that one of the biggest struggles coming out of 2020 and the pandemic was really rebuilding momentum and spending the extra time in areas of my business that I really kind of left to the side, or thought, well, we have business, so why do I need to care about these? And I've had to really dive back into those areas. But I just want to wrap this up. Stop running from the past. Embrace it. These moments are meant to be repurposed. As I experienced the Napa Valley ruins, it started with a very clear purpose and direction. And then it shut down. And over time, the deterioration and character building of the graffiti is why it's being preserved and looked at in such a special way today. We're in awe of it because it's still standing. A year from now, I want you to look back on this time, because I'm going to do it. I'm going to look back at this moment and think about, wow, we're still here. We made it through this. We are still standing. And the character and maybe some deterioration that got us to that point, it'll all be worth it, because we're creating this new part of our journey. And we are the only ones that can do it. No one else can write this for us. I do hope that today's message was a little bit of a moment of inspiration for you. Whether you're listening to this in the car ride, or at the gym, or cleaning the house, working in the studio, whatever it is, I hope that you can start to look at the moments that may feel insignificant in your journey are really the building blocks to the journey that you're creating ahead. And hopefully using this paint method to create. Those of you, again, listening to this on any audio platforms, thank you for listening to this. If you haven't done this already, please just select the little follow button where you're listening to this. It'll make sure that you get all the new episodes. I've been doing these weekly recaps, just solo episodes more often. And then, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you. But I would ask that you consider subscribing, and also just leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. just say hello, just say hey. And one last thing is to follow the Paint Method on Instagram. We do have some other channels, but we're going to be building those. But right now, follow on Instagram. It would be a huge help, and you'll get a lot more exclusive clips and content on there. My name is David Garibaldi. This was a really, I feel like this is a really special episode today. And you let me know in the comments, what did you think about today's episode? And until the next one, I will see you soon. Thank you all.